Hi guys, Conor Hearn here from the Alliance of Dental Excellence. A couple of weeks ago we released a poll on our Facebook page and we targeted it towards managers, owners and anybody else in the practice. And the poll was, what key line of inquiry or what key question from the CQC do you find the hardest? Now we've left it a couple of weeks before getting back to you with the video and with the answer to that poll because we wanted to collect enough data, and I want to thank everybody that got involved with it. We've had over 95 people, it's 97 people actually complete the poll, and it's given us some really good readings. So thank you very much everybody that got involved. Thank you very much for everybody that responded to it. It's been a great help. What we do at the Alliance, if we go to a practice and they need help with CQC, one of the things we always find very funny is that people sometimes trip up over the key lines of inquiry, the safe, caring, effective, well-led and responsive. So we get them to picture it in a different way. And I just wanted to give you that today as well, and then I'll go on with the answer as to what key line of inquiry is the worst one in practice. So what we say to practices when discussing CQC is we say you have to say it as screw. S-C-R-E-W, I'll put that up now. And that basically relates to safe, caring, responsive, effective and well-led. If you remember CQC as screw, then you'll have no problems remembering what the 5 key lines of inquiry are. Now, interestingly enough, we've got the poll here. I'm going to show you here on the screen as well. And the poll was absolutely fantastic. We had the most answered one, that what was the hardest key line of inquiry in your practice was well-led. That was 60%, bang on 60% of you answered well-led was the hardest one in practice. 26.7% said responsive. Absolutely no one ticked safe. Now the interesting thing with it being well-led that got 60% is that if your practice is out of line with safe, effective, responsive and caring, the CQC will also deem you to be not well led. So we've got a couple of ways how we get through well led, and there's a few things that I want to show you today as well. So you've got the poll up there of what everybody answered. This is a snippet now from the CQC's handbook of what well-led should be. So if you've downloaded their handbook on their website, it's about 60 odd pages I believe, have a read through, you'll find this actually in that handbook as well. It gives you a good description of what well-led should be, and it's a good place to start from when you're thinking about how can I prove to the CQC that we are well-led. This one here, this slide here, is something that I took at a meeting a couple of months ago. I did post it on Facebook, and what it is the main themes of why practices fail on well-led. And as you can see from there, you've got leadership. The leadership's not there, the audits aren't being completed, or the action plan from the audit isn't being done. The dental records are poor. There's no learning from mistakes, which should also come under responsive. Responsibilities, they're not understood. The management side of things isn't there. And I would also go as far to say that then the governance wouldn't be there. And also information sharing. There's no information sharing between the team or between the practice and the public as well. So there's probably no staff meetings. So they're the key areas that the CQC say most practices are failing on when it comes to well-led. Now I want to keep this video short for you, and I want to give you just a tip of what to remember when you're thinking about well-led. The first principle for when it comes to well-led as a manager or principal practice owner should be that you lead by example. So when you read through the CQC reports, you will get a general sense, and what the CQC say is they get a general sense of the practice as soon as they walk in. So if there's 3 people behind the reception desk and nobody paying attention to the patient, that has a knock-on effect on the manager as well. So you need to make sure your first impressions are great, and you do that, as that's just an example, you do that through leading through your example. You have to lead the practice Otherwise it's definitely never going to be anywhere close to being well led. The interesting thing about well led is that and safe are the biggest areas that practices fail on. And like I said, if you fail on one of the other 4 points, you're definitely, well, most likely going to also fail on well led as well, because everything ties into well led. Excuse me. So, the way we teach well led and how we remember it and how we cover all of the subjects in well led is very simple. As you can see, I'll put this thing up now, and that says well led down the side. So we take each one of the first letters, and W for us always stands for we involve everyone. So whether that's your team members, whether it's the receptionist, nurses, dentists, anybody, everybody needs to be involved in what happens at the practice. That way you're going to get synchronization running through the whole practice, and everybody is going to know what happens at the practice. Also, when it comes to improving the practice, involve everybody in improving the practice. You can't do it all by yourself. It's like a captain sailing a ship. They can't put the main mast up, they can't steer the boat, they can't look at the navigation, they can't do everything by themselves with one of those big old cutty sark boats. You have to rely on your team, but you're still at the helm and you're still driving the practice forward, but everybody needs to be involved. So that's what W stands for. Next we have E. So for the CQC, everything needs an action and everything needs proof. So I'm just thinking about the example of audits. If you complete an audit and you fail that audit, what action did you take and have you recorded it? So it's proof for them as well. Then one more thing, we go back to the W. We involve the whole team. Do we share it with everybody? So we've got W and E, then we have L, the first of that L. Now you need to listen to the public and to your team. We've already discussed listening to your team a little bit, so listen to the public. Do you do your patient questionnaires, your satisfaction? If you're an NHS patient, do you do your FFT? And do you listen to what those patients are saying? If you do, you can prove you're responsive and well-led, and you're aiming your practice in the right direction, you're willing to improve. Now the CQC are very much looking for people that are willing to improve and bring their practice forward. If you're not responsive and you're not going to be well led. The next L is let everybody know who your leads are. So does your practice have a management structure? Does your junior receptionist or your trainee dental nurse know who your radiation protection supervisor is, or your safeguarding lead? Get those responsibilities printed out and get them put up publicly so that everybody can see who's in charge of what department within your practice. It's no good hoping that people are actually going to know the information, but if you can create visual signs for the information, then people know who's in charge of that subject and they know who to go to. That's one of the most important things. People need to know who to go to if you're going to pass the well-led part. Then we got to lead. So we've done well, we're doing lead now. So the first L for lead, we always teach it as learn constantly and act upon what you learn. So whether you're listening to your HMRA alerts or a patient feedback, or your dentist has let you know that one of the chairs are broken, learn about it, fix it quickly, and actually document that you've done something about it as well. And then once again, share it with the whole practice. E is to evaluate everything and document it. So evaluate everything, whether it be a bit of feedback, a complaint, whether it be your dentist telling you something or your nurse saying something's not right, your receptionist, remember you're not there to be able to do everything yourself. You have to rely on these team members and they have to rely on you. And believe you me, when you get them relying on you and telling you everything, you become the best manager or the best leader ever for that practice. Now, D is direct your team and get a vision for them. So direct your team with your standards that you expect from every individual in the practice, and have a mission statement, have a vision statement of where you want the practice to go. Even potentially have a patient journey policy that everybody can see and everybody can stick by. Now, if anybody watched my Saturday casual tip number 7, you will see that I put a sign up which was basically directed at patients coming into your practice and using you for treatment. But that little graph you can use even in practice. So have a look at Saturday casual tip number 7 and just think, how can I use this in practice? You had easy and hard, motivated and not motivated. So you need to make it as easy as possible for any team member of yours to approach you to tell you something's wrong. You need to make it as easy as possible for everybody to learn about everything at the practice. You need to make it as easy as possible through things like meetings, one-on-ones, appraisals, personal development plans. And once you've done that, you've made it as easy as possible for the CQC to see that your practice is well led. And then change the not motivated and highly motivated parts maybe to learning. So once you've made it as easy as possible for them, make it as easy for them to learn the information that you have in your clinical governance or anything that you put out there. So change that around. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much for everybody that responded to the key lines of inquiry poll that we put out. I want to thank you once again. It's very, very informative as well. I hope you found this video nice and easy to understand. Screenshot anything you want there, put it up in your practice. Please don't fail on well led. If you don't fail on well led, you can be 90% sure you're going to get through any CQC inspection. Hope those are some good tips, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.